Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be looking at the subtotal function available in Excel. So in the usual fashion we'll jump through the function to show you the parts that make up the formula, and then we'll be jumping into Excel to go through some examples. If you haven't done already while we're here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you're notified of all our future videos. Also, we've been making some updates, and as you'll see in the video to this one and previous videos, if you look in the description, you'll see links now available so you can download the actual tutorial file we're using in Excel. So you can actually download that and get your hands on, like I say, the exact file that we're using in these tutorials. So, because I do check that out and for the previous videos we've done, and let us know what you think. So, subtotal. So the purpose of the subtotal function is to get the subtotal in a list or a database. The subtotal function is made up of three parts. The first part is the function number. So when using subtotal, we're able to use up to a number of different options. So it could be a subtotal that gives us a count for the values, or not the values, but the number of items on show. It could also be a sum to tell us what the total amount is for the values or information on show. And there's a number of different ones, such as, like I say, counting. We could do average. We can find the max, the minimum, to name a few. There are a number of them. So what we'll do, again, referencing to the comments, or not the comments, sorry, the description below for the video, you'll see there is a link for downloading the tutorial document. If you go onto that link, it will take you through to a post which gives you a bit more information about this video and where you can download the file. In there as well, we'll pop in there a table so that you can see a list of all the different options you have with this function, and obviously how you use those and bring them in, and some other detail as well will be useful. The second part of the function is reference 1. So this is a named range or reference to subtotal. So as we looked on before with sum formulas and count formulas, we're able to either enter separate references, hence why we have the third bullet point here of reference 2, or we can add a single range of cells that contain all the values that we want to get a subtotal for. And the formula in its entirety for subtotal looks like you see it below there. So we've got equals subtotal, the number or the function number. So this is going to be a number we're going to use in there to determine what we want the subtotal to be. And then we've got the first reference and second optional second reference and so on. Or we can just add the single reference to a range containing all the values. Okay, so we'll jump over to Excel and we'll go for an example to show you how that works. So we're now in Excel and we've got a very small table here to help demonstrate the example that we're going to look at. So the two pieces of information we're going to look at populating, and we'll just highlight them yellow just to call out where we're going to put the formulas. So the first one we want to do, and as we touched on it earlier, there's many different options you have with the subtotal or the value that you want to return. In this example, we're going to look at two of those. One is being a count, and the second one is going to be a sum to get those two subtotals. But like I say, there will be a link below so you can go through and see all the various options that there are available to you. So what we're going to do for this one is we'll first put our formula in, and then you can see how it works. So items visible, we'll populate this first one here at the top of column C. So we want to get a count of the items that are visible to us in the below table. So what we need to do is enter our equal sign and enter the word subtotal. And then we can open brackets. And then these are the list of items that we can see here, what we briefly touched on earlier in terms of all the options that we have available to us when using this calculation. So you will notice that there are some here, and if I scroll down slightly, you can see there's a couple. So we've got at the top of this list now we have 2-count, but we also at the bottom here have 102-count. So there's two different options for using the count formula, and there are for all the others. So there's one set what will go the numbers of 1 to 11, and the second set is numbers 101 to 111. So the difference between this is the values that go from 1 to 11. These are all these, using these numbers, we'll use a function that will include hidden cells or hidden information. And if you use numbers 101 to 111, these will ignore hidden numbers. So we have two different options that we can use when doing this. What will happen as well, and you'll notice as we go on, when we use the first load of numbers 1 to 11, it will ignore any rows that are filtered out in our table. And so I'm probably getting a bit ahead, but this just to let you know there are different numbers here. Once again, I know I said it before, but there will, if you go to the link below where you can download the file, there'll be some additional information for this particular function and for the other functions that we look at. But you might want to check that out just to go through any of this detail, just to make sure you're clear with it. And as always, any questions, drop us a comment below. So for our first one, we are going to use the counter option, number 3 here, to get a count of the values available to us in the table. So you can either select it here from counter, but what I'm simply going to do is just type it into our function, so the number 3. And then what we'll do is hit our comma, and from our prompt we can see that's now going to take us into reference number 1 of the options available. So we want to do this for column C. It could be on any column really, because they're all going to give us a count. But what we'll do is we'll stick with column C for this one so that we can get a count of the items available to us in our table below. So what we first need to do is, well, not first, but what we now need to do is enter our reference that contains all the values. So for us, it's going to be B5. Well, no, it's not. It's going to be C5, I haven't just said. So it'll be C5 through to C11 or C12 even. And then what you could do is, you don't have to add that manually. You could have clicked and dragged, but what I've done for the purposes is just typed it in there. And then simply, because it's just one single reference, we can now close our brackets. So what the subtotal is going to do is going to say, right, we want to get a count using the number 3 option of this range here, of C5 to C12. So what we can do is hit enter. And we can see we've got the value of number 8. And if you just highlight these rows, we can indeed see by validating down the bottom here that the count is 8. And we can visually probably count that there's 4 fruit options and 4 vegetables, giving us 8. Perfect. So the next one we're going to do is look at the subtotal. So what we want to do subtotal is get the subtotal or the total for total price. So the values you see here in column F. So in order to do that, we once again enter our subtotal, if I could spell it correctly, subtotal function. And we can then see what options we want to go for this time. So for this one, because we're doing a sum, so we can simply click the sum option, number 9, and I'm just going to demonstrate doing it this way now. So if I give it a double click, you can see that it's now populated that number 9 in there for us. Do a comma, as we can see our prompt to go into our first reference, and then we can click and drag all the value, or the range, shall I say, that contains the values we want to subtotal. And what it has done here, you can see, it's now actually given us this table reference in regards to the below. But what we will do, because we haven't looked at any of this before or touched on it, is we'll just go back to entering a manual reference. So what this will be is range F5 to F12. So you can just see that that range has been selected there below and over brackets. If you are happy and you've used tables before, by all means you can use that reference. There is by no means anything wrong with it. It's just that we haven't touched on it in our series so far. It will be one we've got coming up, but yeah, we just didn't want to confuse you and get you onto something else. But if you're happy with it or you're using it, by all means, nothing wrong with it at all. It is the best way to use that, especially when dealing with tables. Because what it will do is, as more information is added to the table, that will make sure that that range expands. But like I say, not to cause confusion, we'll just stick with this range we've got here now. So once we're done is got the subtotal, we're going to use the function of 9, what's going to give us a sum. And then as you can see, we've got the range of F5 to F12, what contains all of our values. Close the brackets and we can now hit enter. And a bit of formatting, we could then bring this back in to show the values as they should be here. So once again, we can validate that by highlighting all these cells, and we can see our sum total is 1153. Perfect. So we've got our 1153 at the top there. So we've just done those, and you might be wondering, okay, great, well, we could have done that by using count or whatever. But the benefit we now have to this is as we filter our table, this information will populate or update based on the information you can see. So say we only wanted to look at vegetables. You can see that the two subtotals are now updated. So item visible is now only 4 because we've got the 4 vegetables, and the same for subtotal. So this obviously is now reduced from the £11 that was in there to the £7.91 because once again that is the only information available to us on there. If we wanted to go one step further and we wanted to be filter even further, and let's say we go to cabbage of the vegetables, you can see that has now updated again. So there's only now one item available here, cabbage or vegetable, and that the subtotal is now just updated to the single total price we have here of the 115, as you can see in the top. And then as we take the filters off, and what we can do quickly is if we go to the data tab at the top here and hit the clear button, that'll take off all filters. You can see it now goes back to where it was. So as we touched on as well, there's many options you can use. We've just looked at the counter and the sum function for just 2 of the 11 options we have available. Do go to the link below where you can download the course, this document that we looked at in this tutorial, and you'll also be able to see a bit more information about using this function and the other options you have available when doing these calculations. So once again, thank you for watching this video. Also in the description below, we've got links to our website and our Facebook page. So give those a check out. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel, and always make sure to give the video a like. It is very greatly appreciated. Any questions, do just drop us a comment below, or as we say, we've got links to our website and Facebook below, so you can get in contact with us there as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.